Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm sorry if you can tell that I'm filming on my iPad. I just did like 75% of the video on a camera and then the memory card got full and then for some reason it's not deleting things off of the memory card. So I finally gave up and we're gonna do iPad round 2. So I'm sorry if the audio is not as good as it's been in the past. But anyway, without further ado, we're gonna do another back to the basics video. So I know this isn't going to be useful for everybody who's obviously like a regular Chanel collector, but what I wanted to do was a video on the differences and kind of like the pros and cons of the 4 most common Chanel leathers. I've been getting a lot of questions. I actually get a ton of questions from you guys as far as like, I have 2 bags in mind. I can't figure out which one I'm gonna buy. What do you recommend as far as like the bag that I ultimately purchase? So that's kind of the point of this video, is just to go through like the various leathers. If you want kind of my upshot, I love them all. I do have a favorite, which will be the last one that I show you. And then kind of a subsidiary question that I get is about leather care and maintenance and like, what do I do, like protect the Chanel leathers. And so I'm going to talk about my one tip. It's not going to be very exciting. I don't have, any really big like secret tricks or recommendations for you guys. But anyway, without further ado, let's talk about Chanel leathers. And I'm also a little bit sorry about the lighting. I am having a difficult time finding a place to film today because it's overcast in Chicago. It's like another not very exciting spring day as it's been for months. So I apologize as far as the lighting is concerned. Hopefully this will work. So the first leather that I'm going to talk about is Chanel lambskin. So this is definitely like a fan favorite. Usually I think with classic bags, people are debating whether to purchase them in lambskin or in caviar, which are the 2 most common leathers you can find a classic bag in. This is a Chanel Jumbo. It's in a blue lambskin, and I purchased this bag in 2012. So lambskin, I'm just gonna get a little bit closer. Yeah, this isn't so bad. So lambskin is known to be it's beautiful. It's a beautiful, beautiful leather, and the quilting is very like puffy. There's kind of a sheen to the bag. Like if you can sort of pick that up, it's extraordinarily smooth to the touch. And in that respect is very gorgeous. The downside to lambskin is that it's definitely the most delicate leather that Chanel makes. So it can dent. I'll show you some dents in a second. It scratches easier than any other Chanel leather in my opinion, and it also has the tendency to kind of like scuff over time, like lose like a little bit of like the color and the luster. So overall it's a gorgeous leather, but it is on the more delicate side. So if you guys are like really paranoid about the bag that you're gonna buy, and if it's something that you're gonna really like baby, I would say if there's any bag you have to like be especially concerned with, it's lambskin. So on this bag, I'll kind of show you guys, like if you can see, I really wish my camera worked, so I apologize. Over here, this is not like a discoloration from the light. These are sort of like dented quilts. This is like a very good example of it. And when I purchased this bag, the dented quilts were there, and I will say that they've kind of gotten like a little bit worse over time. And as you can see, like the color is like slightly affected here along this side of the bag. So that is just sort of like a side effect of lambskin. And then also you may be able to tell there's kind of like this line across the front, which is a scratch. And so like in certain lights it's fine, and then in others you can see it like a little bit better. The corners have actually held up like fairly well on this one, but I will say that like if there's an area of the bag that you're gonna start to lose some of the color on, it's probably going to be these corners. And so that's sort of the wear and tear that you can expect. I know a lot of people get really concerned when they take their lambskin bags out if the chains have like dented into the actual lambskin just as a result of storage. That does happen with this bag. However, I've never had that be like a permanent issue. So usually the quilts will kind of puff back out. So if you do buy a bag and it's getting shipped to you, and it does come with some denting from the chains, I would just recommend to give it a couple of days before you make the decision as far as like whether you're going to exchange or return it, because usually it's something that kind of fixes itself. So that's lambskin. The second of the two like smooth Chanel leathers. So this is a calfskin bag. Hold on, I'm trying to get a good picture of it. Okay, so this is the second oldest bag that I own. I bought it in 2009, and this is calfskin. So similar to lambskin, it has that like smooth leather look. However, it's not as beautiful as lambskin. So it's sort of like lacks the puffiness and the shininess, and it's definitely not as, I mean, it's smooth, but it's not like a buttery texture, which is how some people describe lambskin bags. It's more of like a grained, like kind of like rougher, like slightly rougher texture, like if that makes sense. The one benefit to calfskin is bang for the buck, because this is typically not offered. Actually, I don't know if it's ever been offered in a classic Chanel bag, because it's cheaper to make. So you can pick up like this bag, which has the look of like a classic flap. This is called the In the Business. They don't make it anymore. It's like a super, super old bag. I haven't seen it since like 2010, but you kind of get the look of like the classic bag with like a classic flap. But when I purchased this bag, it was $2,400, and I think the going rate on a jumbo was like $5,900. It's like starting to be like outside of my interest range because these bags are getting so expensive. But I shouldn't say that I love Chanel. Everyone knows I'm gonna love Chanel forever. I'm just saying that to say it. So anyway, calfskin is a lot more durable. It's not as beautiful again, but I don't have any issues with this as far as like color transfer, color fading. My edges are like pretty good as far as like edges go. And yeah, so it's sort of like the trade-off. That's probably a good representation of it. Like, as you can see, it's just a lot like flatter, you know, I don't know. It's just not as exciting as the lambskin, but as far as like durability is concerned, you definitely have the durability. Okay, next up to bat. The next two are going to be like very, very straightforward. A lot of people kind of wonder what the difference is between calfskin and lambskin. So next up to bat is patent leather. I did a video last week on patent leather, so if any of you guys are interested, you can go and check that out. So patent leather is extremely shiny, looks like a little piece of candy. I don't exactly know like what it is that they do to glaze the leather, but as you can see, it's just like an absolutely gorgeous like sheen. It's kind of like plasticky looking, and it's smashy, like kind of like a smashy like plastic bag type like feel, maybe like a little bit. And it's definitely on the durable side. I would say that this is definitely on the durable side is the completion of that sentence. It's very good in rain. So if you do get a patent bag wet, usually just kind of like beads off, and you can use a towel and towel it off. If you did see my video last week, the biggest risk that you run is with color transfer. For some reason, patent leather is I would not recommend putting any Chanel bag onto like a newspaper service, but for some reason, this tends to absorb color, like from documents, from newspapers, from magazines. If you set it down on something like that, a lot more than the other bags is concerned. Otherwise, as far as durability is concerned, it's great. The one thing that I will say is that if you do opt for like a patent leather bag, it's usually not on the inside. So you don't kind of have to worry about having this like sort of like puffy, sort of like spongier, shinier glazed leather on the inside of the bag. It's only on the exterior. So this is patent leather, which I'm also a huge fan of. It's a great bag. If I'm going out and I'm worried it's going to rain, this is what I bring with, because if there is a bag that I'm not really that worried about as far as rain is concerned, it's this one. All right, last but not least is my favorite leather, which is Chanel Caviar. So this is another classic flap. This is in the medium large size. And it's green, and I bought this like about a year ago. And Caviar leather, oh my God, this is such a close-up. But as you can see, Caviar leather is pebbled. So it's definitely not shiny. I think if you see it up close, you can see that there's like little tiny like pebble marks in it. So it makes it extremely durable. Of all of the bags, is if there was one that was gonna have to get like hit by a Mack truck, like we're gonna keep our fingers crossed and see what happens, it's probably Caviar leather. It's just extremely resilient. It's very like scratch resistant. You still obviously get like a very, very gorgeous leather, but it's way less delicate than lambskin. I'd say if lambskin is on one end of the spectrum, like this is on the other end of the spectrum, and then calfskin and patent are kind of like in the middle. So Caviar is my favorite leather of all leathers, just because it is so durable. And to me, I'm not as into like the necessity to have like the shiny, like elegant, girly, like lambskin bag that some people are. So this is definitely my recommendation for anybody who's getting a bag that's worried about how, you know, essentially like how it'll wear and tear over time. It tends to be like a bit stiffer. So this is like a lot more structured than my other bags. And yeah, it's just absolutely beautiful. I have heard from time to time people do complain about Caviar because the pebbling is different like from bag to bag. So maybe one day I'll do a video on that, but like every Chanel bag, every leather is going to be slightly different. And sometimes people have issues with Caviar if it's like on the duller side, or if the like little caviar beads or whatever are bigger as opposed to smaller. So I have noticed that there's some variation in the leather, but as a whole, this is like a really, really safe bet as far as a bag is concerned. It's just amazing as far as like how they hold up. My fourth oldest bag, which I purchased in 2010, is like a black Caviar classic, and it looks exactly like it would have looked, you know, when I purchased it at the store like 8 years ago. So this is my absolute favorite leather. Then there are some other leathers that come out like from time to time. So these are kind of like the four like mainstays of Chanel leathers, but you know, there's like different versions of patent leather. There's different manifestations of like calfskin leather. So you know, I'm not going into full-blown detail on all the leathers that have ever been made available, but these are kind of the four classics. So the last question that I get, excuse me, all the time about my handbags is how do I take care of them? So people, hold on, I'm going to check this thing for time. Oh, I'm good. Okay. So people have a ton of concerns as far as like, you know, do you seal a bag? Do you do any sort of like leather treatment when you purchase a bag? How do you store the bags? Like, what do you do to kind of preserve the life of the bag? So my really quick answer is I don't do anything. I have never treated a bag like in advance. I've never tried to waterproof a bag. I know people do. I just don't have any experience with it whatsoever. My move is as simple as possible. It's to make sure they stay like clean and dry. You know, if there's water on them, you're going to want to try to like wipe it off before you put it away. I ultimately, it looks like we have a rain shower beginning. It's fun. But lost my train of thought. No, but anyway, I don't do anything. And then I just store them in their black dust bags. If they ever do develop like a stain or something that I'm concerned about, this is what I use. It's the Meltonian cream. And this is just like a leather polish. There's nothing exciting to it. I think it has fairly minimal ingredients as far as the ingredients are concerned, but it's advertised as a boot and shoe cream polish. I get it in it's 170 is the number, which is the delicate cream. And then on the inside, it looks like this. So it's just kind of like a white jelly. I hope you can kind of like see that on my finger, but it's just like a white jelly. And what I do is if I get like a scuff or a scratch, I put a little bit of this on like a Q-tip or like a little makeup like pad, and you don't have to add water. You don't add anything to this, but then you just go to that spot and you just kind of like very gently buff it out. And this has been successful in buffing out all, I think, of the imperfections that I've ever developed on my bags. So as far as care is concerned, I don't think it's a bad idea to invest in this and then just keep it if you wind up getting a scratch on hand. So anyway, thank you guys for sticking around for this video. I'm really sorry that I'm having this issue with my camera today. I have to figure that out. I'm so bad at technology. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoy the rest of the weekend. I'll see you at the next video.